welcome to our channel, welcome to another video. Capturing moments, creating memories, that's what we're going to do from Niagara Falls, from our wonderful trip back in 2021. Join us on this video and we're going to tell you some interesting facts about Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls is the second largest waterfall in the world, after South Africa's Victoria Falls. The name of Niagara comes from the word Onguara, which references the falls, meaning thundering waters. Niagara Falls is not one single fall, it's actually three. There is the Horseshoe Falls, the Bridal Veil Falls, and the American Falls. Horseshoe Falls is the largest of the three falls, and it also spans the border between New York and Ontario, Canada. Niagara Falls is fed by the waters of the Great Lakes and is estimated to be about 12,000 years old. 5 of the Great Lakes supply the waters to the falls: Huron, St. Clair, Superior, Michigan, and Erie. After the water flows down the waterfalls, it's fed into the 6th Great Lake, Lake Ontario. So it may not be the tallest waterfall in the world, but Niagara Falls likely has the highest flow rate. Over 700,000 gallons of water falls per second from its crestline. The volume of Niagara's waters create a natural whirlpool within the river. The whirlpool is found in the Niagara Gorge, and it's believed to have formed 4,200 years ago due to erosion. It has a depth of 39 metres, and the direction in which the whirlpool spins changes depending on the volume of water that flows into it from Niagara Falls. And contrary to what many people believe, waterfalls are not static. The water could move or change its path. Niagara Falls itself is calculated to have moved back by 7 miles within the last 12,500 years. Niagara Falls could very well be the fastest flowing moving waterfall in the world. There were times when the waters of Niagara stopped flowing. However, those were the times recorded in history only. These incidents occurred in 1848 and 1969. In 1848, Niagara stopped due to an ice jam that restricted the flow of water. This lasted from 30 to 40 hours. In 1969, the water at the American Falls was severely reduced to a trickle by the US Army Corps of Engineers to determine if a rock formation at the area can be removed. Ultimately, they decided to leave it to nature. Although Horseshoe Falls once stopped flowing due to an ice jam, it's never actually frozen over because the volume of water it contains. The American Falls, on the other hand, is more likely to freeze in very low temperatures because it has a lower volume of water. During the especially cold winters, ice could build up and cause a dam of ice that reduces water flow. Any small amount of water that's left usually freezes over. The Maid of the Mist is Niagara Falls' exclusive boat tour. It was launched in May of 1846 as a ferry to cross the US-Canadian border, but the boat resembled a barge, was powered by steam from a boiler, and it carried as many as 100 passengers. It became a tourist attraction in 1848, changing its course to bring passengers close to the falls. Niagara Falls has such a powerful flow of water in terms of speed and volume, and it's capable of supplying almost 4.9 million kilowatts of electricity, enough to power as many as 3.8 million homes. The first time water from the Canadian Niagara River was diverted to generate electricity was in 1893. It supplied communities in Chippewa and Queenston. The intake of the hydroelectric plants affects how much water flows over the falls. It is possible to control and even stop the water flowing down Niagara Falls. From April to October, which is the tourist season, the volume of water flow is kept at 100,000 cubic feet per second, both by the New York Power Authority and the Ontario Hydro. At night, the water rate is reduced to just 50,000 cubic feet per second. So that'll allow people to sleep. Niagara Falls won't keep you awake at night. Niagara Falls has always attracted many adventurous souls. In the fall of 1829, American Sam Patch jumped down the Horseshoe Falls, dropping a good 175 feet into the Niagara River. Patch was known as the Yankee Leaper. He made the plunge and survived. He was the first man to do so. In October of 1901, Annie Edson Taylor positioned herself inside a barrel and allowed it to plunge over the falls. Taylor was 63 but claimed to be in her 40s and a school teacher. Hers was the first successful attempt in a barrel. And lots of attempts to go over the falls were made after Patch's and Taylor's feats. Some attempts were unsuccessful, while others were fatal. Some daredevils have also used different methods for the plunge: kayaks, jet ski, steel barrel, inner tubes, and even a large rubber ball. Can't imagine the guy in a jet ski going over Niagara Falls. Absolutely insane. And if you're watching this video and you're interested in to do these attempts, don't forget, as spectacular as it would be, it's still considered illegal to perform these stunts. Both Canadian and American authorities impose heavy fines on violators. One such was a Michigan native called Kurt Jones, who jumped off the Horseshoe Falls in 2003 without any aid. Just his clothes he was wearing. He survived, but he was fined $2,300. He was also banned from ever entering Canada for the rest of his life. And not wanting to miss the excitement, the famous Nick Wallander also crossed the width of Niagara Falls on a tightrope without a safety net in June 2012. And for the first time, Wallander wore a safety tether. The stunt was sponsored by ABC TV network and was initially rejected by the Canadian officials, who later allowed the walk as an act of honour of all daredevils in the past. So again, although Niagara Falls is a grand sight to see regardless of the season, the water flow is generally much increased during the summer, and the effect is much awesome and stunning. And as we've said before, during the night, less water flows through the waterfalls because it's diverted to allow for increased power generation intakes. And there are actually fish in Niagara Falls, and they do fall down the waterfall. About 90% of them survive because the foam that forms when the water drops cushions their fall. And also their bodies are also shaped and designed to survive the steep drop at Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls State Park is the official state park located in New York that includes the American Falls, the Bridal Veil Falls, and it's part of the Horseshoe Falls. It's the oldest state park in the United States that has been protected and maintained the area surrounding the falls. The area was once owned by private enterprises that limited public access. For over 200 years, Niagara Falls was called the honeymoon capital of the world. It began in 1801 when Joseph and Theodosia of Albany, New York travelled to the falls with 9 pack horses and several servants. Other wealthy honeymooners followed suit. As the cost of travel decreased, so did the popularity of Niagara Falls as a honeymoon destination increased. Today, Niagara Falls brings newlyweds on their honeymoon every single day. And did you know, honeymooners can obtain a honeymoon certification issued by the Mayor of Niagara Falls for free. It's available through the Ontario Tourism Information Centre, and the certificate also comes with a discount package for many city attractions that honeymooners can enjoy. From the Great Lakes, water journeys down to its final destination in the Atlantic Ocean for about 15 hours. The water that feeds Niagara Falls comes from sources such as rain, hail, snow, and groundwater. However, a part of this water is also fossil water, which dates back to the last ice age. And it's hard to believe that Niagara Falls was created by glacier activity around 10,000 years ago. Niagara Falls is, as we've said, the fastest moving and most powerful waterfall Again, 700,000 gallons of water flow down Niagara Falls every second at round about 100 miles per hour. How incredible is that? The Bridal Veil Falls is named for its appearance. It's located next to the American Falls and separated by a small piece of land called Luna Island. The length of the brink for the Canadian Horseshoe Falls is 2,600 feet or 792.4 metres. The Canadian Horseshoe Falls are approximately 180 feet, 57 metres high, and allow 6 million cubic feet of water over the crest line every minute during the peak daytime tourist hours. That's about 1 million bathtubs full of water every minute. So in other words, measurement of the volume of water flowing over the crest, it accounts for 75,750 gallons of water per second over the American and Bridal Falls, where the Horseshoe Falls 750,000 gallons per second. Incredible. The Niagara River flows at approximately 35 miles an hour, 56 kilometers an hour. And the water drops over the crest at a rate of 32 feet per second, hitting the base of the falls with 280 tons of force at the American and Bridal Falls and 2,509 tons of force at the Horseshoe Falls. This is not the type of waterfall you'd want to stand under. Definitely not. Up until 1912, visitors were allowed to walk out on an ice bridge and view the falls from below. In a local newspaper on February the 24th, 1888, it was reported that at least 20,000 people watched or tobogganed on the ice. There were little shanties selling liquor, photographs and all types of goods. But then on February the 4th, 1912, the ice bridge broke up and 3 tourists unfortunately died. Apart from the ice bridges, there can also be mini icebergs which flow down the Niagara River from the frozen Lake Erie. The flow of ice has been reduced considerably by the yearly installation of the ice boom on Lake Erie, which is a long floating chain of steel floats strung across the Niagara River from Buffalo, New York to Fort Erie, Ontario. It is set in place to help prevent the ice from clogging the river and, most importantly, the hydroelectric company's water intakes. And did you know the old scow, a steel barge, remains stranded a few hundred metres above the falls, and it's been marooned there since August the 6th, 1918, when a near tragedy was averted by 3 men who opened the dumping hatches of the barge to let water in and around the out-of-control boat. Niagara River Gorge is home to 14 species of rare plants, some threatened and some endangered. The Niagara Peninsula became free of ice about 12,500 years ago as the ice retreated northward. Its melting waters began to flow down through what became Lake Erie, the Niagara River and Lake Ontario, down to the St. Lawrence River and finally out to the Atlantic Ocean. There were originally 5 spillways from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. These were eventually reduced to 1. The original Niagara Falls at Queenstown, Lewiston. From here the falls began their steady erosion throughout the bedrock. However, about 10,500 years ago, through an interplay of geological effects including retreats and advances of ice and rebounding of land, due to the intense pressure of the ice, the process was interrupted. The glacial meltwaters were rerouted through northern Ontario, bypassing the southern route. For the next 5,000 years, Lake Erie remained only half the size of what it is today. The Niagara River was reduced to about 10% of its current flow, and much reduced, stalled in the area of the Niagara Glen. The water here is fossil water, and less than 1% of it is renewable on an annual basis. The rest is left over from the ice sheets. It was likely a brief and violent encounter and an incredible geological moment lasting only days or weeks. But at this moment, the falls were at the youthful Niagara River, intersected by the old riverbed, which had been buried and sealed during the last ice age. The falls turned into this buried gorge and tore out the glacial debris that filled it, scouring the old river. It was probably not a falls at all, but a huge churning rapid. When it was all over, it was left behind a 90-degree turn in the river, which we now today know as the Niagara Whirlpool, and North America's largest series of standing waves, which today is known as the Whirlpool Rapids. The falls then re-established near what is now the Whirlpool Rapids Bridge and resumed carving their way through the solid rock to present its normal location that we see today. The Niagara River is fairly young at 12,000 years old, a microsecond in geological time. The Niagara Escarpment, which was created by erosion, is much older. The glaciers pressed down on the land during the last ice age and laid down layers of sediment before the slow process of erosion of ice and water ate at the surface of escarpment. And it's amazing that Niagara Falls continues to erode, sometimes as much as 6 feet per year, to its present site. More commonly, it wears away at about 1 foot per year. And did you know Niagara Falls has quite a human history as well? One of the bloodiest battles of the War of 1812 took place on July the 25th, 1814, here at Niagara Falls, Ontario. A total of 7,500 Americans and Canadians fought for 6 hours, resulting in over 1,000 soldiers dead or wounded. And the first person to see and describe Niagara Falls in depth was Father Louis Hennepin, a French priest who accompanied La Salle on his expedition to the Niagara region in 1678. January the 27th, 1938, the upper steel arch bridge, known locally as the Honeymoon Bridge, collapsed under pressure from the build-up of ice in the gorge below the falls. The bridge had been closed days before in anticipation of the collapse. In 1959, the face of Niagara changed when Louis Tissard's English Wax Museum was opened. Since then, the city of Niagara Falls has become a massive attraction in itself, and we often compare it to Las Vegas. Some of the man-made attractions include Table Rock scenic tunnels, the Spanish Aero car, Ripley's Believe It or Not. You've also got the Skylon Tower that rises 775 feet above the falls and offers great views of Niagara Falls from the observation deck and restaurant. And every evening, beginning at dusk, Niagara Falls is transformed into an incredible multi-coloured water and light masterpiece. Special lights are housed in the illumination tower next to the Queen Victoria Place. The 20th century Fox movie Niagara, starred Marilyn Monroe, was filmed in Niagara Falls, in addition to parts of Superman. Until 1886, when the Statue of Liberty was erected, the falls in Niagara was the symbol of America and the New World. Visitors from all over the world targeted Niagara Falls as a must-see during a visit to North America. The Three Sister Islands were named after the daughters of Parkhurst Whitney, a hotel man and a prominent local citizen. The daughters' names were Asnath, Angeline and Salida Eliza. The height of Bridal Veil Falls and American Falls is approximately 176 feet, 53 metres, due to the rocks at the base, where the fall is actually 70 feet. The volume of water that flows over the Bridal Veil Falls and American Falls, again, is absolutely incredible. The Caves of the Winds, which is located at the Niagara Falls State Park, is torn down and rebuilt every single year. Niagara Falls State Park stretches over 400 acres, with close to 140 acres that are actually underwater. Green Island, situated between Goat Island and the mainland, was named after Andrew Green, the first president in commission at the state reservation at Niagara. In 1901, 140 of the 170 trees native to western New York were found growing on Goat Island. The total number of flora species documented on Goat Island over the last 2 centuries is over 600. There you go. I hope you've enjoyed these wonderful facts of Niagara Falls while watching the spectacular footage that we took back in November of 2021. Of course, if you've enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, drop me some comments, and please subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video really soon.